Louis, firstly, thank you so much for joining us today for our Love Recruitment video interview series. For our network, this is Louis Dutfield. He's the head of operations for MSG Life, which is the UK's biggest fitness franchise brand, which they run 23 Snap Fitness clubs up and down the UK. Firstly, Louis, it's great to have you here with us today.
Pleasure to be here. Thank you for inviting me, Abhi. It's all good.
Perfect, good stuff. Louis, firstly, we're so excited to have you on our video interview series, and I think you can generally add some great value to our network, and especially within that, our network are general managers, club staff in general, regionals, as well as club owners who are probably facing things for the first time in their life, and actually getting someone who's trying to steer a ship for a big fitness franchise chain. I think they'll find it extremely useful. So, as you know, we've got 6 questions for you. So without any further ado, let's get started with them. So Louis, our first question for you is, how have things been during this latest lockdown?
A big sigh, I think, probably explains it all. It's been tough. It's been the toughest one yet, I think, without any doubt, both from a personal point of view as well as professional. We obviously had the sunshine in the first one, which made the world of difference, in my opinion. And it's obviously been a lot longer than the November lockdown. From a personal point of view, though, on the positive, I've got to say my homeschooling and my baking skills have taken to new heights. So I've thoroughly enjoyed that side of it. I've also found with no distractions that my fitness goals finally, after 17 years in the industry, have probably taken off that much more, along with my eating habits. So all positive on the personal front on that side of things. And as much as I'd say tough in respect of the business point of view, I would say the last month has really gathered some kind of momentum and enthusiasm in terms of the return. Now we have our dates, and fingers crossed the final time we have to do this. There's been some real positivity, I think, as well. So I guess the tough part, we work in quarters. And right now we should be finishing up March as the end of quarter 1, which should have been our most fruitful of the year. And alongside that, it's the first January that I haven't worked to close out in 17 years, and I've missed it. I've missed it badly, but the comeback has to be strong, right? So 2-3 weeks to go, and we're back.
Absolutely. Louis, on all those things, all I paid attention to is the fact that you can bake now. So I will be requesting a cake at some stage as well. But I completely agree. It's something we don't ever talk about is how this is the first time for a lot of people they've not worked the golden quarter. They have sat at home in January, and how I loved it when I worked in the industry. So it's so true that our teams are just sitting at home, not utilizing their extremely great skills to actually make a difference. So such a good point there. Really good point.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got an industry who they're people, if that makes sense. So when you take that side of it away, we've been starved of that. And I speak for the whole industry with that, but it's been tough. I've missed that regular contact and seeing several people each and every day, really. But same as everyone, I guess.
Absolutely. Moving on, I guess, what have your biggest learnings been during the lockdown, I guess, from a personal perspective and as a business?
Yes, certainly. So from a personal point of view, and I kind of found this from the first lockdown, and certainly now that's been the best part of a year. I think the biggest one for me is gratitude, both from taking people for granted or relationships for granted, alongside just being able to do simple things. I guess the freedom element being taken away, all of a sudden the most simple small things have been missed and will hopefully be appreciated going forward. You mentioned about the whole industry stopping for that first time. I don't think I've properly stopped the entire time I've been in the industry. So as much as that's been forced upon us, it gives you time to reflect and to look forward as to having the right balance going forward and making sure your time is effective rather than just full on, I guess, at the same time. So making sure that you have impact in the things that you do. Yeah. From a business point of view, there's so many learnings that we've kind of picked up within our group, as I'm sure many have. And the word that kind of sticks out for me is probably efficiency. As to, again, you can take that from every element. So from a cost effective point of view, we haven't had income for the best part of this last year. So where you spend becomes crucial. Where you spend your time as well becomes again crucial. It makes you reflect. Sometimes we spend probably too much time in transit, whereas with technological advancements, we can now touch and speak to many people, via video links, etc., such as we're doing today. So there's probably different ways of working that we can now look at. For me, the biggest learning, in fact, there's two. I'll say there's two. One being the technological side. Obviously, digital was huge beforehand, was already getting bigger and bigger, and has just gone into another stratosphere now. And I think it will continue to do so. And I think utilised alongside the human touch will be where it really kind of explodes. But for me, the biggest learning and realisation, if you like, is that this industry plays a huge part in the cure of actually getting the UK fit, healthy, not specifically COVID, but from all the illnesses, diseases that can be supported with. Not least, the one that's probably come out massively across the last year is the wellness and the mental health, not just across our teams, but of our members. So I think that plays a massive part then within the future as well. So it's an industry I've always been proud to work in, and it's an industry, once it's reopened, I think the importance will really kind of stand out from that point forward.
Absolutely. I loved how you said, I think there's so many fitness leaders in the fitness industry are almost positioning us as the cure now. We're not just, about 15, 20 years ago, the gyms were for the select few, whereas it's not anymore. I think we are a part of a bigger solution to actually, we talk about the pressures on our NHS and everything else. Actually, if we do get as a nation more fit, and that doesn't just be gyms, right? If everyone walks another 10% or cycles or eats better, it doesn't matter to come to gyms. It's so, and actually, I think even my pride of supporting the sector during this lockdown has massively increased, because we wouldn't want to recruit in any other sector, because you're actually a part of something much bigger than just money or business, which is great, I think.
Absolutely. I think the variety of goals that people have and the reasons for people exercising will have changed massively based on the last year alone. So I'm excited to see where that takes us, and excited to work with the team who can make that difference then as well. Definitely.
Perfect. Obviously, fingers crossed, reopening is around the corner. How are plans for reopenings coming along? And I guess, what are the key things you're focusing on?
Yeah, sure. I mean, plans for the reopening, I feel like we're quite well practiced at this now. This is the third time, obviously, to reopen. So I'd like to think, certainly from an operational point of view, this should be the slickest. I mean, we're ready to go. We've had far more warning this time than maybe previously. So we're fully ready to go on that side of it from an operational point of view. In terms of what we're focusing on, number one is absolutely, opening in a safe way for both our members and for staff. That has to be crucial. And that's, again, across the industry. We can't afford to really have those cases where we have to step backwards again. So safe reopening, massively important. We've been focusing on ensuring our team are fully equipped to support members and to reopen, in terms of what training they need, any individual support our teams have needed, and to ensure that communication line has continued given the length of time that we've been closed. So that's been a big focus. And in terms of our focus then once open is going to be all about re-engaging our existing members. So tick the safety box completely and make sure people feel safe and reassured that we're doing the right things, but to then re-engage with where they're at with their goals and have they changed, and what specifically do our members need, and being ready to be flexible and adapt around what those needs are, I think is going to be crucial. I mean, there'll be a variety of cases who've kept their fitness up. There'll be some who've fallen off the wagon. It's literally like pressing the reset button and going, time to start again. Where do I even begin? Where's my fitness at, really? So that's crucial. and I'd be lying if I didn't say that, and again, I'm sure all operators would say the same, the financial focus done in the right way, we've been starved of income for the best part of a year. So we have to recoup revenues, like I say, in the right way by looking after our members, but also we should absolutely have a new segment of the market that will now be looking at fitness and gyms specifically. So we have to be ready for that, and to welcome kind of newbies to the industry at the same time. So how quickly we recover may well be area dependent, depending on rates of recovery, etc. as well. But like I say, the adaptability side, I think for me is crucial with that, to be able to move with what the market wants. So that's what we're focusing on, really.
Perfect. And again, fingers crossed that I think we do get a wave of a new segment of society that never used gyms before, and I'm confident that will happen, where people who probably never thought of joining a gym now go, actually, it's probably the right time. So yeah, absolutely fingers crossed for that. Well, where do you see the fitness industry in 12 months' time?
I would never have predicted where we are now from a year ago, for one, but I think the whole face of the industry could look quite different in many respects. I mean, we've had some casualties in terms of operators and clubs already, on a small scale, and I think the real fallout of that will only happen once rentals return, costs go back to normal, and have the revenues been kind of recouped in that time. And that's where I talk about the flexibility and adaptability piece being crucial within that. I mean, what gives me confidence from what we looked at after lockdown one is we allowed for a certain percentage drop off for members and revenue, and we fell well within that. And that prediction was finger in the air. We don't actually know, but let's say it's that much. Can we survive it? And touch wood, we can, and we did. It's that much longer now. So again, it's getting ready to brace yourselves, embrace the opportunity side of things, and just recoup as quickly as we can. The one statistic that sticks out to me, and I remember reading this towards the end of 2019, was 15% of the UK are member of health clubs, or were as of 2019. Now that doesn't incorporate outdoor training, Peloton, sports clubs, etc. as well. So UK participation for any sport will be bigger as a result. I genuinely think when we talk about the opportunity that participation in fitness in all forms will massively increase, and that has to feed into gyms, in my opinion, as experts at the same time. So we may well find ourselves in a really unique position where demand could well outweigh supply in certain areas of the country, which, what a wonderful problem that would be to have. That could happen, and we need to then grow alongside that. But again, we need to recover first, and then we need to be ready to kind of grow off the back of it. In terms of probably the biggest few differences, I think, in 12 months' time, or biggest areas of growth, I think technology, we've mentioned already, will only increase. I think, particularly with lockdown one, outdoor activity, and how gyms incorporate outdoor fitness is a huge opportunity. And the biggest one, I touched upon it earlier, is the wellness element of health and fitness, and like I say, specifically the mental health side of it. So I think all operators, PTs, owners will really have to tap into that side to move with the market and take that side seriously with where that will develop. And I think those who do that particularly well have got every opportunity of kind of capitalizing on that opportunity as well. So that's my thought. 12 months.
Perfect. Yeah, fingers crossed what you said there about demand outrunning supply. That'll be a great position to be in. Almost going back 10, 15 years where there were queues of people joining health clubs and everything. So yeah, Louis, I'm actually going to leave it at that, because fingers crossed that's what happens as well. The next question is very, very specific to, I guess, the club staff, the club/general managers. And from a people development perspective, we get asked this by club managers and general managers all the time, that what does it take to become an area/regional manager? Louis, obviously you've made that step from running very successful clubs in the past, then taking regional roles, to now taking a national role. What advice would you give to all those GMs, club managers out there?
In hindsight, there's plenty now that probably I didn't see at the time. And top of that pile is probably being patient, which is sometimes the hardest thing to be. Like you said, I spent 12 years as a club general manager, best job in the world, lots of different clubs, lots of different challenges, loved every single day working with teams on the front line, with members, etc. Love that completely. But having the patient side of it first and foremost, that it takes time. Being ready when that does come up is crucial, not just when a vacancy comes up that you think you can throw your hat in the ring for. And in terms of even small steps towards that, I would say I'd highly recommend doing something for nothing in terms of supporting the current area manager or regional manager, where it will add value at least, and not for a financial return. And that could be anything, but when you talk leadership or multi-site leadership, you're ultimately looking at influencing people. So looking at how you can do that within your current role and having credibility when you do so. And that may be conversations with your current regional manager as to where they think you could add value or where you think you can add value yourself. The other part that's crucial as well is to remain a performer in your current role, consistency being key. We talk credibility. You have to be able to show that you can do that yourself regardless. Aside from that, I would say the flexibility or what sacrifices you're willing to make. So would you move for the right kind of role at the same level to prove you can do it elsewhere? And can you back up a result in terms of a membership growth or a revenue growth in more than one place? And more importantly, can you demonstrate how you did it? So not just I increased membership base by 20% or revenue went up 20%. What actions did you take that led to that as a result? And if you know how to do that and you can do that in a variety of scenarios and a variety of challenges in different clubs, then that's the first steps towards multi-site management to show you can do that regardless. There's a couple of other points within that question I'd look at as well, and that's to look at maybe some of the leaders you've had in the past, some of the really strong leaders, and look at what traits they displayed and how did that make you feel. So not just what they did, but how did you feel off the back of it, and how do you do that for your team currently? And dare I say, to look at the same on the opposite end of the scale, and potentially poor leaders or poor qualities that were shown. How do you ensure that those aren't within your makeup at the same time as well? The last couple of bits I'd say on there would be to look at your own values. So what do you really, really stand for? Is that something that comes straight to the forefront when you think of yourself? And would other people say the same? So is there 3 to 5 values that you say, this is what I'm all about and I can prove that? And then when I talk on the feedback side and how people perceive you, do people perceive you how you think they do? Have you asked them? Have you asked for blind feedback or 360 feedback from your superiors, from your team, from your equals? And the more honest that feedback is, the more valuable it is, of course, as to how do you improve. So above all, I'd say, along with patience, I'd say to remain fully focused and to be resilient and to take every knockback as a learning and a chance to get stronger. I'd say that's the biggest amount of feedback I can probably give.
Amazing. Louis, honestly, that's just such a great answer there, because I do think that taking that step from a club single site role into becoming a multi-site manager is probably the hardest thing to do in our industry. And it's something that a lot of managers are constantly asking us in terms of what do I need to do. So to hear it from someone who has walked the walk, who has done it, and I think it's absolutely great. So yeah, thank you so much for your thoughts on that particular one. Go one final question.
No problem.
And something which I always like was it always adds to my list as well. So do you have any book recommendations that you would recommend to the network?
Yeah, sure. I mean, I'm actually more of an audiobook person. I do read, and more now than I ever have done. The audiobooks kind of came out of spending the last 10 plus years either commuting to where I work or being on the road. So I've had a lot of car time to use for self-development. On the audiobook side, first and foremost, one I'd recommend are, and there's hundreds of them, but the Escape Your Limits podcast I find brilliant and varied. And you can pick out the ones that you think are most relevant or interesting to yourself. I can't pronounce his name. I know it's Matthew, and I want to say Yanisai or Janacek, but I shouldn't have even. I'm also a big fan of Simon Sinek, John Maxwell, Pete Cohen, Paul Bedford, just to name a few that I find really, really fascinating and take lots from them. In terms of actual books, and these are a couple of really easy reads, so you've got time to read these alongside your work or before we reopen. And they stand the test of time. And it's Who Moved My Cheese and My Iceberg is Melting. And I think they're particularly valuable at this time when we're talking about adaptability and changing times and change management. And so that's why I think they're particularly relevant right now, at a time that our industry could change a lot over the course of the next 12 months. And then on a personal point of view, the book I'm reading at the moment is called The Power of Now, which is a bit of a thought. It's quite deep, but I'm finding it quite useful because I'm often guilty of living in the future as to constantly trying to strive and to get to that next thing and to do the next thing in whatever walk of life that might be, without really stopping to enjoy and to be aware of where you are at that moment. So The Power of Now is one that I'm midway through at the moment. I'll give you my full book review next time, but so far so good.
Amazing. Well, that is some great recommendations there. I've written those down for myself for sure. So Louis, thank you so much again for taking the time to speak to us today. Genuinely really do appreciate it as well. And until next time, thank you so much again.
No problem at all. Thank you, Abhi.
Thank you.